Hi, this is Pierre Delcote working at Planet Technologies. Managers are often the first blockers in a digital transformation for many reasons. One of them is the tools that you're going to provide to allow transparency. Um, Maybe they will feel that those tools will um challenge their role because usually managers are micro-controlling everything and they want to be aware of what's going on. They want to everything goes through them, so they might be disrupted by a digital transformation. So I created this deck just to make people understand what is important in digital transformation, especially for managers, and also to give some advice at the end, especially around teams, because I'm going to talk about collaboration here. So first, we can really see the digital transformation is disruptive. We've seen so many businesses have been disrupted by newcomers. As you can see on this infographic, probably the biggest company, our tech company now, and without a lot of asset, they can disrupt a well-established company. So and it's all about digital transformation here because those companies just rely on digital, and their main goal is to reduce the layers between the producer and consumer. Producer or consumer, you can see that different ways. Producer of a product and the consumer of the product. You can see it in other way. The producer of the information and the consumer of the information. So it's really disrupting the business. What about the people? We've seen that the digital transformation for consumers is really fast, and it is two pictures have been taken on the Vatican during the Pope election, and you can see that there was an acceleration around late 2000 um, with thanks to mobility and smartphone, 3G, 4G, and now 5G, and the usage are completely different, and they are going fast and faster. You know that as a consumer, you know that you have a lot of apps now, and you have more and more apps every month. So it's really a non-stop change, and it's disrupting how you work, how you consume, how you play, how you do everything now. And at the same time, if you do a digital transformation within a company, an organization, you can see that everybody doesn't use the technology at the same pace with the same maturity. So you can really create inequity, and you need to be really careful about helping people who are struggling with technology, and because now digital is a skill. It has to be a skill, so people need to learn this skill pretty quickly because everything gonna rely on digital. At the same time, especially when you're working in an organization and you want to provide a new service, even if the service is very good, uh, people don't have time. You can see that a lot of organizations are overwhelmed with work. They don't know when they can learn. They don't see the return on investment to learn something. So even if it's very useful, um, people feel they don't have the time for that. So it's really key to be sure that when you not only when you pitching your digital transformation, you need to have the right approach, the right message, so people will listen to you, and then you need to help them. When you look at how people, uh, and it's even I think it's even worse now, but how people feel engaged in their organization, you can see there's a problem because 70% of people are just coming to get a paycheck. So that means they're not engaged in that. That means they don't want to transform the company, the world. They don't really want to have an impact. They just want to do their job and get the paycheck. So it's not very good for to sustain a digital transformation. And people are key in the digital transformation. And technology, of course, is key. And technology also within the company is evolving at a really quick pace. And maybe last year, for example, there were 1,500 new features that impacted end users in Microsoft 365. So you can imagine that it's not possible for every end user to learning it all, to understanding it all, knowing it all. But they have to be in a mode where they want to learn and collectively learn what they can do with the technology. For the organization, we can clearly see through several studies, and this is one made by Capgemini and the MIT, where you can see that when you only do a digital transformation on the technical part, deploying new digital tools, even if they're super powerful, you can see that the benefits are not totally there, and sometimes there are negative impacts. And it's a conjunction of a digital transformation, which means new digital environment, digital tool, new digital processes, but in par with a digital transformation for managers. So how managers are going to change the way they're working, and not blocking the innovation and not blocking the new way of working. So let's talk about how the workplace is evolving. We can see that for several years now, we've seen a lot of transformation in a lot of organizations where transparency is really, really what's key. So people are aware of what's going on if they want to be aware of. Flexibility in how you work, if you're working remote, if you're working being mobile, if you're working where you want, if you're working when you want. Mobility is key to be flexible. Engagement is also an important part, as you've seen in the Gallup um, number, that you need to have an environment where people can engage. So that means they can share their ideas without being criticized or without being judged, and where they can share ideas and they can have echo to see if their ideas can bring some value to their team or their group or their community or their enterprise. And that's part of the collaboration process. Collaboration is not only working together on the same subject, it's also sharing thoughts, ideas, initiatives, take risks, and accept your fail. Though we see a lot of companies, and especially successful companies, going towards this transformation, trying to break silos between entities, department, services, so they can have a better understanding of what's going on where and a better global understanding of where the company is trying to go or adjusting to go. And everything is in the cloud, and because the cloud is giving the opportunity to go fast and to have an environment that can evolve with new technology, that will help to achieve the goal. But the technology is not key here. What is key is the agility of the technology to adapt to new needs. But the really key here is to build a strategy that can help you to leverage those technologies to achieve your global goals and change the way you're working. So for the manager, we can see that there's old school manager or old school management and new way of seeing manager more as leaders, where the manager should be somebody who's not micro controlling all the time what his team is doing, but is more fostering people, empowering people to uh, be more efficient or to be more happy, just to be more happy so they can achieve their goal or the collective goal. And for that, the manager has to first lead the way, incarnate the way, be the change you want to see in the world, and he has to be legitimate. He has to bring some value. He has to grow his team. He has to inspire his team, and he has to be in a mindset where what is important is not to do things right, but do the right things. That means even if the short-term goal is not achieved, if it serves the global goal, it's where how it should work. So definitely we see this transformation, and it's totally different approach than uh, maybe in the last 50 or 70 years. Uh, Also, it's about not only about middle managers. The top management has to transform, and what is key with the top management is to really incarnate genuinely the change they want to see in their organization. So if they're promoting the digital transformation, but they don't ever use digital tools, that wouldn't be a good role model. So they really need to incarnate the change and push the change and help wherever, however they can, to spread the word of the digital transformation, which is you. The top management is not like an orchestra lead who explain to everybody what they should do, but it's more like a jazz band. If you look on internet for this video of a jazz band by a BCG, where you can see um, that the jazz band is maybe one leader is maybe the pianist who's playing something, and then everybody around him gonna improvise depending on the skill. So you take people skills to make a better music here or to make a better organization, and you don't force people to chance people's skills. You take leverage their skills to adapt to the goal that you have. Um, Also, definitely the leader should create a common and understandable and simple purpose, and be sure that the management understand the global purpose of the organization, and be sure to create some value, genuine value, authentic value, where people can feel they have the same value and same beliefs, so they can work together in the same direction. And transparency is really key. And when you talk about transparency, when you exchanging information, working together, collaborating for sure, you also need to understand as a manager that when you're working in a transparent environment, you need to establish some trust. And a good way to establish some trust is not to judge people who are uh, communicating with you. There's no title when you're collaborating with somebody. So you really need to be at the same level at everybody, and engage with people quite directly without any notion of title or hierarchy. Also, it's important to understand how the generations are using the tools, or how they consider the tools, because depending on generation, there are some people who are not tech savvy at all. They might use email rather than other tools. On the other side, you might have people who are uh, going to work with instantaneous tool. So you need to define the right path that um, even if one size doesn't fit all, but you need to try to define some governance around how you're going to work together within the organization, understanding the generations uh, way of working, and you don't want to force them to change the way they work. You want to create incentives to show what the benefits are working differently, especially that will bridge the gap between generations in terms of use. You can have, for example, a strategy of reverse mentoring where youngest people can help their oldest people to better understand how to use the technology, and at the same time, the oldest people can maybe bring some experience, working experience. So it's a trade of knowledge in both direction. Um, Collaboration is all about breaking silos, business silos. You don't want to be in an organization, a hierarchical organization, where you have to ask a question to your manager. So you don't want to go up the hierarchy to and down the hierarchy and have tons of email in between, so people can find what is the right answer to a problem, because this is not agile at all. It takes time, and sometimes it's lost somewhere, and nobody cares about it. So it's really not what a digital transformation is. A digital transformation is all about connection and better team spirit. As you have in rugby, rugby is really the, in Europe. It's the sport where you don't have stars, not really, because everybody relies on his teammate. You cannot win a game with that just with a few individual talents. So it's all about the process of building a strategy to work together, so you able to win and and to score. Um, when we talk about digital transformation, is one point which is important is to understand that it's often failing for a lot of reasons, and a lot of reasons are concerning the management, either the top management, because sometimes you don't have a sponsor, an exec sponsor, which is um, committed enough to open the doors, promote the project, promote the digital transformation, incarnate the digital transformation, help to remove the hurdles, and so on. But also, as I said earlier, the management fear to lose control, and because it can redefine his work, because he's not there just to control the output of his team and check if everything is going well, and then go back to his management to explain why it's not going well, or why it's going well, and so on. So it's really a new way of working with a team, where you need to be a connector, you need to foster initiatives, you need to encourage your team to be more engaged, to be more transparent, to share with other business, other managers, maybe without the manager knowing it. So it's a different way to work as a manager, and manager can really be a blocker if they don't feel the benefit for them, the interest of doing this digital transformation. So another point for the management and the managers to understand is, um, in terms of how you learn, the the the, the, the mindset is totally different as what we did before. Um, Before, we probably were learning when we didn't have any other choice, um, and we didn't really like to learn because we learned when we were young at school, and that's enough. Uh, and so now the people, the people try to learn by themselves, and by practicing, which is probably the best way to learn. Um, but we we build a world where a world of expertise, where an expert is somebody who knows it all. Where with digital transformation and with the the number of technologies that you can encounter in an organization, the number of evolution, transformation. It's digital transformation. It's always transforming. It's never stopping. You cannot be an expert because the scope is too wide and the rhythm is too fast. So you need others, other people to connect with and to build this global knowledge. And the only way to achieve that is to change the mindset from what uh, people call knowing it all. I know everything about a subject to a learning it all mindset, where what is key is to be able to learn quickly on here a new technology, a new way of working. It's to learn quickly and rely on other to complement this learning, and knowing that, admitting that it's an infinite game. You don't stop to learn because you cannot learn it all. It's impossible. But you have to be in the learning it all uh, mindset where you want to learn and you know that things going to change all the time. So you have this appetite to learn. So this really probably the most challenging um, transformation in digital transformation. You have to be in this mindset when you know that you, you're going to be confronted with technology change or even a process change very often, more than twice a year. And you need to be in this mindset. Okay, I need to learn. I need to get this muscle of me learning regularly. But I'm not going to learning by myself. I'm going to also rely on the group learning and helping each other. So when we look at some solutions, so transparency is really key. Um, there's this video called Email Trees um, that is showing this perfectly, where um, you can see that when you exchange information in email, even if it was convenient maybe 20 years ago, because there was nothing else, then it's a madness because email are going everywhere with several versions of document, adding people in copy, blind copy, forward the email. You add people in a thread, and then you basically what this video says. You have 61 email for one decision. So that's really not collaborative. That takes time. Email is bad to communicate because people really overinterpret the tone of the email. People don't have time, so they write email quickly. We don't understand the context. We don't understand really what is said in the email. So there's other way to collaborate, and a good way to collaborate is to have a collaboration platform where everything is transparent and people are coming and sharing their thought like they will do in email, but maybe shorter, maybe already in context of a conversation, and people can react and chime in and add their value, and then it brings more agility and more efficiency to everybody. So it's a beneficial for everybody. Also, embracing vulnerability when you're doing transparent, when you have a collaboration, transformation, and transparent, and we bring transparency. You will feel at first, especially as a manager, if you want to foster transparency, be transparent about every decision, everything you're gonna work on. Um, Sometimes you feel alone because it's in your culture not to be transparent. So sometimes you feel awkward. And there's this video that shows how to become a leader. That shows you're gonna do things that seem to be stupid for others, but as soon as you are able to embark a few people behind you that we call followers, and you can create a cycle where more and more people are going to join you. It's a bell curve of the adoption. If you're able to reach 15% of the population, then you can convince the rest of the population. So the managers out there are really to embark the rest of their team, showing the way, incarnate the change, and showing why digital transformation is key, showing that, okay, I try to use digital transformation. Uh, I mess I mess it because I'm not knowledgeable right now, but I'm doing the effort. I might be feeling vulnerable at that time because I'm showing that I'm making mistakes, but it's part of the learning process. You need to make mistakes to better understand what you're doing, and you show the way to others so that people can feel comfortable to do same mistakes and learn this way too. You cannot push in the direction where people feel they have to learn everything before starting to work on something because it's too wide. So they need to learn little by little things after other little things, so they can learn faster and they can try, they can make some error, adjust quickly. So you really need to embrace your own vulnerability and also the vulnerability of your team so they can feel comfortable about exposing themselves and then collaborating. Also, embracing failure leads to creativity. You're not in a factory world, industrial world. No, it's really about uh, it's a knowledge era where you don't you're still producing products. And as I like to say, when you give a product to two people, they need to share this product in two, so you have half of a product. When you share a knowledge to two people, then you multiply by two this knowledge, and then they can share it, and it's multiply the knowledge of your organization. So you really need to have this spirit of, okay, I'm trying to do something. Maybe I fail, and I can adjust. And I'm not waiting for years before a new transformation. And we can see that clearly that the very successful digital transformation, and especially in the big tech, we can see that those big techs are disrupting themselves. They don't rely on what they did. They constantly try to disrupt themselves with new services, new way to approach things, and that's what killed Kodak, for example. So if you try to protect a model that is working, you're there's a good chance that you're going to be disrupted by somebody who's more agile and more willing to have another idea and test it and disrupt you. So it's really key to embrace failure to lead, and that leads to creativity. On the learning path, we can see there's two different approach. Old world where we were learning when we were young, and then we work, and then we retire. And now it's you need to learn all the time. There's no other choices because there's so many things to learn. You might change your career, not only your job. It's sure for sure you will change your change job along your career, but you also probably you change the sector you work with. You might not change your company, but you change your company, but also you change the kind of job you're doing. And for this, you need to learn. You need to be agile and be able to have this learning muscle, to be able to learn quickly different things, to be adaptable to the new challenges. And we can see that there are a lot of challenges that are occurring right now where people need to really change the way they're working. There's so many challenges like the climate change will need probably tons of people to be trained on how to handle the climate change. The COVID needs to has such an impact that you need to change the way you're working. You're working remote, so you have to learn quickly and so on. And you don't want to. You need to have this rhythm of learning, and it should be mandatory in all HR to have a cursus where you're learning all the time something that is useful not only for right now what you're doing but in the future. You need as I think it's for managers, it's important to understand what motivates an individual. And there's a very good author called Dan Peek who wrote this book Drive, who summarized it in with a three-letter map: mastery, autonomy, and purpose. That's the three key drivers um, that motivate individual. Um, Mastery is the ability to master something, be able to really learn deeply something, like um, learning how to play music. You see when somebody is mastering something, he feels empowered, um, and so it's really key to understand that you need to help people to um, learn those skills they're really happy to learn because they're going to investigate more to learn it. It has to be aligned with the global goal, but you need to try to find out in your HR training program what will benefit the individual and the organization, and what do they need to master. And autonomy is definitely uh, understanding that manager, if they're micro-controlling everybody, people won't be engaged for sure because they don't want to have somebody who will look on their shoulder all the time. They want some trust, and they want also to try by themselves and organize how they want. It's just about a matter of alignment and governance that the manager has to work on with the team and get some consensus around that. And finally, the purpose. People are really motivated if they have a clear purpose. If the clear purpose is to get a paycheck, they will just work for the paycheck. They won't work for the goal, the global purpose of the organization. So some recommendations about around collaboration, and especially around communication. Uh, so it's important for the manager to be a role model. So whenever you see as a manager, whenever you see conversation living in email, we have a lot of back and forth email or a big thread. Try to capture that and redirect this conversation in a more collaborative environment where it's more transparent, less aggressive, more visible, and so try to encourage a chat. So you can, for example, you can take the email and send it to Teams if we talk about Microsoft technology. And the email, then the conversation can be in Teams, and you'll see that not only everybody will have the information, not only not the only people who are in the email, but everybody who's in the team concerned by the subject. But also you'll see that people will be less aggressive because since it's public, people control themselves when they're in public. Um, so yeah, try to also use the chat tool if you're just using email to send individual question and back and forth questions. Choose the appropriate tool, and chat is aimed for that. Um, Really try to minimize email usage. In the ideal world, email is to communicate with external contacts because you don't have a lot of other tool to do that, a standard tool to do that. But if not, you use chat tools or team tool to do that. Aim transparency. So whatever you can communicate, try to post it in Teams. Either it's in between people, it's impromptu, so it's a chat with a group of people, a group chat, or it's in a team. You have a dedicated team to talk about this subject. So post in teams. As a manager, encourage people to share, encourage people to communicate. Um, so you need really to be a cheerleader here because some people, especially at first, they won't, they 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 won't feel comfortable to share or to ask a question because maybe because they feel they will it's a stupid question. It might seem to be a stupid question. It's not the question. It's not about the question. It's about asking for help when you need help. And if you don't judge the people and you're just here to help, that will foster engagement and collaboration. And people who will feel safe. And people, if they feel safe, they will communicate more. They will share more. They will be more efficient. And to do that, you need to open as possible. If it's possible, you can need to open your team when you publish information to everybody within your organization, unless it's really confidential. But most of the time, if you want somebody to join the conversation, it's better if they can join in quickly, easily, and join in depending on their interest. So engage with people, ask questions, pull them, use some icebreakers, be fun sometimes. Learn, 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 and at your own pace. You don't have to learn it all at one time. It's not just when you having this digital transformation project that you need to learn. It's little by little you learn. It will be easier to learn a little bit by little, and you have micro learning platform like Evolve 365 that help you to learn at your own pace. When you have a minute, you're gonna learn something, and when you have a need, then you can learn quickly, search for what you want to learn, or rely on other, ask a question. But at one point, you need to learn. Um, Try to change the way you're organizing your meeting and animating your meeting. We've seen that so many meetings, so many people are saying that there are too many meetings, not efficient, so they're losing a time. And for what? For what reason? If there's a consensus around there's too many meetings and they're not efficient, there should be an answer, should be solution. So first of all, prepare your meetings, and you can do that in Teams and explain what's going to happen in meetings before. Have a little chat around about what's going on in meetings. Then you can record the meeting for people who cannot join the meeting because you don't want to force people to join just to listen. If they want just to listen, they can come later and fast forward the recording. Try to turn on the camera with all the attendees because it's a better engagement, avoid multitask, it's better connection. You can see how people are reacting, even if it's less efficient than the face-to-face meetings, but it's definitely better than not having camera on. And in general, a good advice is when you're in a meeting as a manager, try to let everybody talk, and then you, as a manager, you talk last because you can synthesize. You can maybe change and adapt what you're gonna say depending on what people are saying. So that's a good, I think, it's a good advice. Just let people discuss the subject of the meeting before you um, giving your opinion or taking a decision. It's important for a manager to understand the best practice, how you communicate in a team environment. For example, it's important when especially when somebody is trying to communicate, trying to engage, which is really positive for the organization, like the messages, to at least to acknowledge that you read the message. It doesn't mean that you like it. It means you really read it, and so the person is not throwing a ball into the sea without knowing if somebody is going to read this message. Acknowledging with a like is a convention. And if you want to go further, you can praise. So you have some tools to praise people because they are doing things that are maybe out of the scope, or they're they're doing very good things for the team, for the company. So you want to praise them and publicly. Um, so you show that way that the behavior you encourage is not only success. You don't want to just to praise on the success, but also initiatives. Even if they're failing, there's always something to learn. So praise to encourage people to be more engaged in discussion. Um, and also, you at the same time you need to uh, make people feel secure, and for that you need to explain what is, I don't know, what is a governance, and maybe sometimes what is a compliance, because there's some rules, and rules, um, as long as they're clear, um, as long as people understand why the rules are here, um, they're more reassuring than anything else. When you have constraints, you know where are the limits, and so then you can play faster in between limits. When you don't have limits, you don't know where you can go, and it might feel dangerous. So having rules, well established, well communicated, um, when the people know that they can express themselves without being judged, or when they feel that people will respect what they're saying, when they feel there's a positive attitude in terms of communication, um, then they will be they will feel secured, and they will feel more engaged. Another trick, if you see that people are still not coming in this collaborative environment like Teams, if you want to make them come to Teams, um, make communication or information exclusive to the team. So people, if they want to have access to the information, they have to go. So the word of mouth will work here, because if they miss something important for them, they will know that if they want to have access to that, they have to change the way they're working. So as a conclusion, I will say that the digital transformation, it's not a destination. We can think that we have to go from point A to point B, but it's not the case. Digital transformation is a journey, and you even if you have a vision, if you think that you want to go in a certain direction, you can adjust, and that's part of the digital transformation. You have to adjust all the time, depending on what's going on around you, depending on the technology, depending on your culture, depending on external factors. Um, it's more an attitude. It's more okay. We need to learn it all. We need to be more transparent. We need to try it, test it, make errors, adjust quickly. Um, we need to be agile. That's the kind of transformation. It's not only about technology in digital transformation. Yet yes, there is digital, but mainly there's transformation, and we focus too much on the digital, learning the tool, how to use the tool, but it's also about how you leverage the tool in your day-to-day work, and how you change the way you work, how you change the process, how you change your interaction with your colleagues and your peers and other departments. Um, so it really needs, it requires to adapt quickly and to learn quickly. So digital transformation is all about being able to go in a direction, test it, not working, learn from that, and go in another direction and learn from that, and you know, adjust all the time and building your right path. It's about behaviors. It's, as you can see, it's important people to feel safe, people to feel engaged, people to feel that their initiative is valued, that they have common values, that the they can share anything with anybody without um, any sanctions. They can talk to everybody within the company without any fear or without being shy. So it's so reshaping some behaviors in the way you collaborate, in the way you interact, in the way you connect with people. And it definitely needs management engagement because management has a key role in the digital transformation because they're the one who can not only make people more engaged, but they can lead their team. They can explain, synthesize. They can also be a connector with other managers, all the teams. They are the enablers, and they are a role model. And if you want a digital transformation to succeed, you need to have managers who are role model and incarnate this digital transformation. And lastly, I think it takes tenacity and patience to succeed in digital transformation because it takes time. It's not something you're going to achieve in 1 year. The best one I've seen in my career is it takes at least 5 years to start to be success because you don't shift a culture like that. It takes time, it takes experience, it takes adjustment, it takes momentum. That what counts, and you need to be vigilant about how bad behaviors can come back. So it takes time, it takes adjustment. So it's not, a project you do and you stop to do that after a year. It's really has to be in your DNA. So that was um, the way I position digital transformation to managers so they better understand what is key for them to understand so they can be more successful in their digital transformation with their team.